What's going on? It's a new day. What's going on, Munson? Let's introduce the people. Where we at?
I don't know where we at, bro. I'm trying to figure out where it is. Where it be. Woo!
The sun is shining,
Yeah.
nice and bright.
Whoa.
The birds are chirping.
Yeah.
Time to get ready
for another day.
No one can stop us. We gon'
That's in the city.
Every day we
learn
and play. We do our best, so we'll be great.
You do your best,
and I don't mind.
So let's get ready. Cause it's about that time. Good morning, to you. Good morning, how do you do? Good morning, time to be great. Good morning,
Good morning, everybody.
open your eyes. Good morning to you.
Hey.
Good morning, how do you do? Good morning to you. Good morning, how do you do?
Good morning.
You see me up?
Whoa. Good morning, everybody. It is Rolling Out AM, the wake up call. I am Munson Steed, and I am joined by Cass in the City, Romeo International, and the first King James, Terry Shropshire, who smiles all day. And of course, we've got Amir Shaw. What's happening, everybody? Good morning.
Good morning.
One thing, everybody. What's going on?
Won't stop, can't
It's Wednesday.
stop. It is on. Every city is marching. Every city is out. And the hurt and the pain are on display. What is going on in this country? It's a movement, just in case you did not know. It is a real movement. It is on. Hey, Amir Shaw, you enjoying this party?
Man, it's hope this is a party that we want to kind of provoke change, because it's happening everywhere. It's happening in pretty much every major city. Well, every city in America has had some form of whether it's a protest or a rally in the memory of George Floyd. And later on, we're going to talk about how this whole movement is going global. So we definitely want to talk about the impact of this entire movement and how it's like taken off in less than a week. If you imagine it, that George Floyd lost his life last Monday, and since then it's just we've seen America turned upside down, and hopefully this is something that's going to create change around and across the nation.
First King James, what's your assessment of the status of this country?
Well, because of coronavirus, combined with because of the pandemic and an epidemic in terms of police brutality, and the ensuing riots and demonstrations and protests and marches, there's a permanent paradigm shift that's been instituted by the people and by the politicians. So there will be permanent changes. And I'm going to talk to a couple of them this morning. One of them will be a funeral director who's basically trying to help people mourn their losses from a different perspective. And that is providing inadequate and insufficient mourning for many of the people, as reports by the New York Times and the Washington Post have pointed out. But we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Cass in the City, what are young people doing right now?
Very overwhelming. I've seen a lot of information, a lot of people using their platforms to put out positivity and kind of spread awareness for what needs to happen after this protest, your action steps. I've seen a lot of, great stories of people coming together across all nationalities, and that's very heartwarming, that people are joining our cause and fighting for Black Lives Matter, fighting for justice for George Floyd and many others. So it's been a lot to take in, but I have seen a lot of positive messages coming out of this.
Romeo, the blackout, it seemed like there was a confusion, and it's muting Black Lives Matter was part of the conversation, and people were calling people this Are you sure? I mean, we all lived through a solidarity moment. What's the problem? Think about that, Romeo.
That is a good question. What is the problem? Because what I saw yesterday for I haven't seen in a long time, a nation of people on one accord, and it was the most beautiful thing. Yesterday, the total for the entire Blackout Tuesday yesterday hit over 68.5 million. 68.5 million hashtag Blackout Tuesday. That right there alone, body.
Yeah. Why not?
Why not? So we're gonna talk about that.
Can you feel that, Mr. Shaw? Can you feel that, Mr. Shaw?
What?
Can you feel that, Mr. Shaw?
Hey, man. I want Black people to get information. That's what I want.
Yeah, plenty of platforms for them to get that. I think solidarity was part of the confusion in people's minds. They wanted to fight it. They wanted to make these long soliloquies about why we shouldn't be doing this. And I'd never do. Well, then if you never do it, why are you doing it? You're such a liar.
Well, the issue I was seeing on social media was that people were mistaking hashtags. So there's a Black Lives Matter hashtag, which is what people use to put out information, put out these videos of protests, put out these videos of police brutality, and all these other things, how you can donate and so forth. And the Blackout Tuesday hashtag was being mistaken for the Black Lives Matter hashtag. So these black squares were being posted with Black Lives Matter. Therefore, all the content that people have been posting, for Black Lives Matter for however long we've been protesting and using this hashtag has been clouded by just black squares. So that's the issue. And I saw a lot of people posting, do not use the Black Lives Matter hashtag for Blackout Tuesday. So that was the disconnect. A lot of people posted the black squares.
Cassie points to training. Like, it's very difficult when you have a movement and the training is so slow. But I do want to say that at the end of the day, the solidarity is what's key. Like we understand if you didn't ramp it up and have trainings versus twerkings, if you didn't have trainings versus just conversation, then we understand it was a movement. But don't stop the solidarity movement and the way people still had to get on their socials and be live and say, well, I'm just trying to say, I got it. But in less than 24 hours, what's the number, Romeo?
68.5.
68.5, whatever that is, was at least a unifying moment for a second, for people to pause and be introspective, which is important because we're still in a pandemic. No matter how much people want to turn up, we're still in a pandemic. It still has a disproportionate effect on our community. We know there's still medical disparity, and we haven't even talked about 40 million unemployed. Get that number for me, Terry. What percentage of our community is the unemployed out of that 40 million? We need that number for sure.
And I will say just to add to you, Mr. Steve, on top of Mr. A.R. Shaw, that what I did notice was a lot of young people used that Blackout Tuesday to actually stay home and not be out and still voice their opinion. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Now, I mean, I think I'm all for solidarity and everyone coming together. But I think Cass in the City definitely brought up an excellent point about, I don't know if this was playing well as far as how people should go about doing it. So, the thing is, my whole thing is
we know it wasn't. We can just say for a fact, Cass's point, we know it wasn't. We don't have to wonder if it wasn't. We know that it wasn't. There's no memo that was sent out, but maybe it was best that it wasn't a memo, because then it truly could have been infiltrated. I mean, I think
but that's my thing. Like, how do we know that this wasn't an infiltration? How do we know that this wasn't someone say, okay, I don't want black people to talk for a day?
I think
do we know that?
Stop talking, bro. I'm sure them cell phones, videos, texts. I don't think anybody had less conversation. People won elections. Less people were actually still on the street. There was not any less communication. the movement continued even in that moment, brother. Then fewer people show up. People continued to protest that day. I mean,
so I wanna allude to a point that Russell Simmons made yesterday. So Russell Simmons made a point about what happened in South Africa during apartheid. So what they did in South Africa during apartheid, they shut down all the radio stations, so people couldn't get information. And so the thing is, he kind of juxtaposed to what was happening as far as at this point in the midst of situations like this, you want as much information as you can get. And so I'm all for the movement, all for solidarity, but we don't want to block information during these times.
Yeah, I think I do think it could have been more organized, but I think that social media, I think is just focusing on trivialities to talk about whether or not it was Black Lives Movement hashtag or Blackout Tuesday hashtag. The point is that it worked, and people spending their time wasting their time debating about that seems to be an exercise in frivolity. So that's my opinion.
No, I think, Terry, you're right, but it's posting with a purpose. I mean, it was nice not to get another butt shot. It was nice. It was nice not to see one day where there's just a ton of things.
Did you say Megan Thee Stallion?
I can't.
That's her specialty.
Nice for a day.
Yeah,
I agree. I think that's fine. I think a lot of people, like I said, the information wasn't clear. A lot of people believe this meant don't get on social media at all, and a lot of people just didn't. And there were still messages that needed to be spread yesterday, like going out to vote, as we know. So yes, we don't need to see your selfies. We don't need to see, you selling clothes. We don't need to see all this nonsense. We want to see impactful information that's relative to Black Lives Matter. So I think that there was a lot of disconnect. Like you said, I believe in solidarity. I think it worked, but I think we're going to have to go back and flood the Black Lives Matter hashtag today and repost all of that content so that when people go look at Black Lives Matter, it's not black squares.
Good point.
Let's go.
Good point.
Right, but I think the post with a purpose, Cass, is definitely there. And I would anticipate a long video today sharing with people how they can repost and giving them an example of how to post until November. Like to me, if that's the case, what's your cadence? How many days is it before it's November election day?
We like what, 4 or 5 months?
No, let's get the exact number so we can have posting with a purpose countdown. I mean, it's like keep your social posting with a purpose versus posting. What's that word you said with F starts with the FT? King James.
No, I'm sorry. What did you say, sir? I was looking at the statistics that you asked me to look up about 40 million people being unemployed. Oh, frivolity, yes.
Yeah. So
frivolous pursuits. I thought that Cass made an excellent point. You made an excellent point. I thought being focused on the elections and adhering to just everybody going along with the blackout was great. But I thought that people getting on there, and I saw it, people debating about whether we should have done this hashtag or that hashtag was just ridiculous. Let it go. It's working. Keep it pushing.
Yeah, I think that's a constant training that needs to happen, AR. I think the movement has to happen. I think the conversation of training, but I think we've seen that with protest. How do you protest safely, organize the young people? People have asked for it. Let's not come out of this movement without training. Let's not come out of this movement without somebody, just like we did black boxes. Let's just everybody go vote early. Let's do the early vote on social. Let's see you take your steps to the poll. Let's go live then, walking to the poll. Let's make sure that is our purpose.
Let's go, man.
Let's go. It's rolling out. AM, the wake up call. Cass in the city. It is your turn today.
Yes. So we're going to continue this conversation. Obviously, systematic racism is something that's very real in our country. And Warner Brothers just released the movie Just Mercy, obviously, that stars Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx. And they have made it available for free during the entire month of June for people to go watch and educate themselves. This is a story, if you are unaware, of civil rights defense attorney Brian Stevenson as he fights for the rights of Walter McMillan, who was wrongly convicted and sentenced to death row. And, you know, it's a really good story about systematic oppression and racism in this country. And I think this was a great thing that Warner Brothers is doing, making this available during this time. I really enjoyed this movie. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's very relevant right now when we talk about educating yourselves about content, reading. What do you think?
I thought it was good too, but it's hard to watch sometimes because
Yeah.
I tend to transport myself into these movies as if they're real time, like I did with The Help. And I was at the theater when I watched The Help, and I went to the bathroom, and I was like, man, and I saw 3 white men at the theater at the Atlantic Station, and I was like, hey, dang, am I allowed to be in this bathroom? I went to a defensive posture, like I was going to fight, you know. So sometimes it takes you there. It takes you there. So that's the kind of movie that was.
Definitely.
And Cass in the City, before you go on, want to know how can people stream this movie?
So it's available on all platforms. I actually went and checked this out yesterday. It's on YouTube for free right now. And I also did a story about it, but on all platforms right now throughout the month of June, you can go watch this movie for free. Continuing, we were just speaking about the blackout. Rihanna has been very vocal about the injustice of George Floyd's murder, as well as a bunch of other issues that we deal with in this country as it pertains to racism. So she and her brand, Savage Fenty Beauty, all participated in the blackout. So she used her platform to encourage the movement of solidarity like we were speaking of. She expressed that today we are not buying, we are also not selling. So she kind of called for that moment of just take a pause. She also, though, used her platform to list out the states that were doing voting primaries to let people know this is also time to vote. So she didn't go completely silent, but she used her platform yesterday, you know, to encourage people not only to vote, but just kind of make this movement very prevalent in the eyes of her followers. Continuing, talk show host, actress, Amanda Seales has decided that she is not renewing her contract on The Real. She spoke out about this yesterday. She said her contract expired and she decided not to renew it. She said, I'm not at a space where as a full Black woman, I can have my voice and my coworkers also have their voice, and where the people at the top are not respecting the necessity for Black voices to be at the top too. So as we know, she was a very different kind of personality to come on The Real. I don't know if you guys watch it, but I have. She brought a very different dynamic to the show. She was very vocal about Black issues. She's been very vocal on social media recently as well as it pertains to George Floyd. And we can discuss that. I know you guys have all seen that. And we were just talking about it a little earlier. So what are you guys' thoughts on that? I mean, she's basically just saying this is not a platform for her. The Real doesn't suit her views, and she's moving on.
No, I think any situation comes down to chemistry of that particular situation. So that's just not the right situation for her. And it was obvious from the very beginning. It's just like it's just like a free agent going to a basketball team, and they're all superstars, and the free agent's a superstar, but it doesn't work. So that's all. It just didn't work.
Let me ask you this, Cass in the City, first King James. Do you take your voice out of the fight though? Like she was there. Like, do you remove your voice from the fight, or do you push the voice?
Well, I think she was getting pushed back, and she felt like she wasn't being respected. Her voice wasn't being heard. So I think that's why she just decided, you know, for these 6 months, I've been trying to, you know, make a statement here. I've been trying to bring more awareness to like Black issues and, you know, talk about it in a way that the other co-hosts weren't. So I guess she just felt like this wasn't right for her, like Terry said, and she decided to move on. She still has a huge platform, obviously, on social media that she's going to use, you know, to her best judgment.
Right, just like Amir Shaw's sports writing hero, Jason Whitlock, has left Fox News.
Don't do me. Not at all.
He left Fox News, and he's going to go find another situation. It didn't work. His political philosophy is graded on his coworkers and the people at the top. So sometimes you're not just drowning out your voice. You're not taking your voice away. You're just finding another platform for which your voice can be heard. Yeah, another space. There you go.
Yes, I agree.
And everybody, I'm just joking about Amir. He don't. Yeah, you're just joking.
But no, I think I watched some of the episodes with her on there. It did seem like a weird mix with her being there. A lot of her comments were very weighted and heavy, and I don't know if her co-host could like bounce off of her. So it's like when you're on a show like that, you kind of need co-hosts who can kind of trade with you. And she would throw things out there, and it was like no one could really trade with her or go back and forth, on certain subjects. So it was kind of out of place for her.
Right.
Romeo, what you got?
Well, shout out to everybody that's checking in on Facebook right now, man. We're going to get to your comments and we're going to get to your love. We're definitely glad that you're here this morning. Twitter, YouTube, we're definitely glad that you're here because socially, this is where we're about to go, man. So welcome to Rolling Out AM. This is the music report, the entertainment report, the social report with my crew and my team. So I'm going to go 2 days back so we can catch up. Jay-Z actually contacted the governor, Tim Walz of Minnesota, and had a conversation with him about making a swift movement to get to a solution. Jay-Z said, I am a human, a father, a black man in pain, and I am not the only one. I am more determined to fight for justice than any fight would the oppressors may have. So what do you guys think of Jay-Z using his voice? What do you think of celebrities using their voice and power to push the narrative? Anybody?
I mean,
Oh, yeah. Go ahead,
I think this is, Jay-Z is not always super vocal about the things he does, or you don't always, hear about it like other celebrities. But I think this is an important move. I mean, he can make a call as a, person of power and kind of demand change. So I think this was important for something that he did in this situation for sure.
And I think it's critical for icons, whether it's sports, athletes, movie stars to get involved. They don't have to lead the movement. As a matter of fact, most of them don't have the capacity to lead a movement. What they can do is be involved and provide resources and provide their vast platform to help, move the movement along and kind of give a little bit of power to the people who are on the front lines and don't have the foots on the ground.
I'm glad you said power.
Did I say foots? Feet.
And I'm glad you said power to the people, King James, because that's what Rolling Out did yesterday. Rolling Out provided power to the people because Rolling Out participated in the blackout. If producers can pull that, Rolling Out actually took their stand. The CEO stood up and he said, you know what we're going to do, guys? We're going to show our solidarity because enough is enough. So we appreciate all of the engagements. Over 5,000 people left a nice message and engaged with us on the Blackout Tuesday. On top of the Blackout Tuesday, we got to give some love and respect, and I want to make sure I say his name right, to Raul Dubay. He let nearly 70 strangers trapped by police in his home and allowed them to stay the night and to avoid arrest. Now, with this being also said, the police actually came to his home and door, knocked on his door and said, excuse me, sir, you can't have this many people in your house. And his reply was, this is my house though, right? So what do you guys think of that?
No, I think that was a courageous move. Of course that anytime police they have to have a warrant to go and come inside your house. So that's something that he knew the law, that police just couldn't come in and arrest people. So I think that was a brave move by him to actually shelter the people who were endangered by the cops or the police at that moment. So it was a great move, man. And we need more people who are allies to actually have action. We don't need people who consider themselves or call themselves allies destroying things. So this is someone who was an ally who actually helped out. So
and we need to get people. And we need to help the people who put their necks out. This guy put his neck out. He's now on the FBI, local police radar. There might be some retribution or some pushback against that guy. So he needs to be protected. We need to protect our people who are brave enough to do things like that. Just like in Minnesota with that teenager who did the video. Somebody is getting her some psychological help because she's been traumatized. So we need to look out for the people who do things for us.
But also, I think they make a good point. But I think it's time out for people playing the George Floyd video. I think maybe networks should stop playing. We don't want to
Definitely.
see Don Lemon and CNN playing George Floyd again. We're good on that. We've seen it. Let's all stop playing the murder scene. I mean, I think
And also to and also to a point that Munson brought up, and if you could elaborate on this, even though he did a great deed, people need to stop falling for the trap, as Mr. Steed said. The curfew, I think they purposely tried to trap the people on that street because the curfew was at a certain time, but the march started 2 hours before the curfew. So you're kind of, playing 50-50 on putting yourself in a situation, and this man stepped up to help the situation. Mr. Steve, can you elaborate on that?
I appreciate that, but I also want to talk about the protests because I think we've got to be careful. Did you get that other story about that young man, Romeo? The football player?
No. Yes, sir.
Let's hit that because I want to make sure we do that before our guest jumps on, and then I'll get back to the harbor in place. But there's just a caution that we need to make sure everyone is taking maximum protection when they are actually protesting, because we are still in a pandemic, everybody. It is still a pandemic.
Cass, you was about to say? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I mean, the curfew, I believe, I mean, if people are peacefully protesting, I don't see the reason to trap them in. If there are people out there looting and doing all these criminal activities, I can understand why you need to arrest people. But peacefully protesting to me isn't a cause for arrest, especially if they're not being violent. But that's just my personal
They set
opinion.
a trap.
They set a trap. They set a trap.
Well, I think what you're
also
unfortunate is the militarization of cities. I think people who've been in the military, they're running maneuvers. This is not, oh, we're just gonna come out. They are running maneuvers, practicing on the public. These maneuvers, the use of force is enormous. So you're seeing a different type of vehicle in neighborhoods. Many of these things are maneuvers, Terry. You've been in the military. You know what it is when you have a maneuver, a practice maneuver.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. But I just thought that the police department, I thought it was just dishonest, and they were trying to get it. They were got, and so this guy kind of saved them, but they were got because they did exactly what they had planned to do, which is basically huddle them. It's just like lions catching a zebra. They trapped them, they surrounded them, and they had them, but they got free because of this man.
And I heard a lot of police are changing their, if AR can speak to this, a lot of police are changing their guns to pellet color guns and rubber bullets, and they're using the pellet guns to shoot at whoever they're trying to apprehend, so that they can identify them when they get in a crowd, the certain color pellets that are in their gun if they get away.
Yeah, it's like those paint guns that I don't know if anyone ever went paint, had like a paint gun fight, and they're like tagging. So yeah, definitely, that's definitely a maneuver that they're using to once they have people who are in the crowd, they want to definitely use that to identify them. But also those things are very they can damage people. We've seen people lose eyeballs. People being severely injured by those paint bullets. So yeah, it's I think I understand you want to control crowds, but there has to be another way instead of inflicting more violence on the people who are protesting peacefully.
Yeah, rubber bullets hurt.
I mean, I've seen tons of photos of people like bleeding very badly, getting shot in the head, in between their eyes, really bad damage from those rubber bullets.
Yeah, getting concussions, saying it's serious. It can take you down.
We got a guest coming, Terry. Why don't you invite our guest to join? We really want everybody to remember it is a pandemic happening, and that many people have lost. Over 100,000 lives lost at this moment. Definitely health disparities are an issue, and families grieving is an issue. So phenomenally.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good segue to my next point in talking about, the pandemic. I mean, I'm talking about the insurrection that's going on in America. People have forgot that there's a pandemic and that many people are dying, and that this pandemic may have permanently changed the way that we do certain things, including laying them to rest and mourning our loved ones. And so we wanted to bring on someone who could speak to that, who's on the front lines and doing that on a daily basis. Welcome to the show, Mr. William G. Murray, who is of the, I don't want to make sure I say it right. Well, why don't you say it? You are the director of, oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay.
There we go.
Are we good?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Murray, why don't you introduce yourself and the name of your funeral home, sir?
My name is William Galeano Murray, and the name of my funeral home is William Galeano Murray and Son Funeral Home.
Okay, and how long have you been in Atlanta? And basically talk about, just go into some of the changes that have been enacted or that you were forced to enact, the institute at your places because of the coronavirus.
Born and raised Atlanta, Hugh Spalding baby, married. My wife is Valerie Murray, 2 children, son, William Galeano Murray III, and Chloe Murray, who's at Alabama right now, Roll Tide. This pandemic, the first time I encountered it was back in January. We picked up a young lady, actually a baby that was 18 months old. And we had seen the news that was going on overseas, talking about COVID. And my director gave me the death certificate and it said COVID. And I said, what? And I immediately went into a tangent and I called the hospital, was the Children's Hospital, and got in touch with the nurse and went off on her. Now, I was ignorant to the fact that it was different types of COVID. But what it did do was it alarmed me to take all types of precautions. So after she told me that it wasn't COVID-19, but it was a different strand of COVID, we still took necessary precautions. From there, I said, man, she was so, the charge nurse was so loose leaf about it. I told him, I said, man, this is crazy. And another alert point, the second alert point was my son was home for spring break. And he goes to school at Lindenwood University in St. Louis, and actually St. Charles in right outside St. Louis in Missouri. And he had come home, he flew home, and while he was home, he was told that the school was going to close.
Yes.
So he said, Dad, I need some books. Even though they're trying to do everything online. So we drove to Missouri. And something happened that hasn't happened to me since 9/11. And when we were filling up the gas tank on the truck, and we pulled over in Kentucky, I saw people with gloves on and people with masks. Now, this is in the early stage. This is spring break.
Yes.
And when a white counterpart start conversating with me, just arbitrarily, just out of the blue, I remember I said, man, everybody was talkative at that station. I told my son, I said, I hadn't seen that since 9/11.
Okay.
I say, when it's a panic, I say, people come together.
Yeah.
So immediately, driving up there, as we start, I said, this thing is bigger than what we think it is. So I start putting on NPR on my cell phone. catching different information here and there. And as we went up toward the school, we started buying supplies in smaller towns. Then once we got into Missouri, got all his stuff and head back. Wherever I could stop, I was buying bleach. And my family thought I was crazy because I had water with 2 teaspoons of bleach in old Gatorade bottles, things of that nature. I bought ammunition. While I was up there, I ordered a lot of PPE for my funeral home.
Okay, yeah, exactly. You were being appreciative.
Yeah.
I wanted to know how the coronavirus and the pandemic has forcibly changed how you operate at the funeral home and how you conduct the funeral service. Because as we know, there was a funeral in Albany, Georgia, a small town, and it caused an outbreak that devastated that small town. So I wanted to know the precautions and the impersonality. You know, funerals have become impersonal because of the fact that it's not being done in person. So I wanted to know what kind of changes, real concrete changes that happened at your funeral with your funeral services. So
now people are limited on the amount of people that can come to a funeral according to the square footage of the building. At first it was down to 10, but now it's done for the square footage of the building. Then we're doing a lot of, Facebook online.
Really?
So that people can be a part of the funerals. Another thing is everyone who enters the funeral home must wear a mask. And what I'm finding out is so many people are taking this thing loose leaf. And then you have to deal with the curfew. So the funeral home I tell people we have to close the funeral home down earlier so that you can make it home on time, because I don't want to be responsible for you being out after the curfew.
Absolutely.
Because what our people are not understanding, a curfew is a curfew. You had a curfew, you had a curfew, you had a curfew with your parents.
Yes.
Because if you didn't have come in, you lost the rights to driving or whatever that you really loved.
Yeah, you're right.
And another thing, the hospitals are they're using the HIPAA laws to tell you that they are not able to tell you that a person is positive or not with the COVID. And that is real bad. Now, some people who are caring and concerning will let you know, hey, this COVID-19. But certain hospitals will not let you know. So you have to treat every person as if they were positive.
Okay.
Because you have to realize too, some people are being sent back home and then they die.
Right. No, exactly.
You're right. And the last like alert that I had was when Rusha Stevens died out of DeKalb County. They actually highlighted her death.
Okay.
And she was a dear friend of mine's sister. And I grew up with her. And she had gone to the hospital. They treated her, sent her back home. She wasn't feeling good, went back and died. So this is how I see it. I have friends that are doctors. Take your vitamins. When you're out there protesting, have a mask on. If you're touching people, take your gloves. If you can, get a visor, put sunglasses on, try to protect your eyes, because that's a whole nother war. And it's a silent war because it is killing minorities. And this is the thing, it'll run through you if you're strong enough and come back and you'll die of something simple. And that's just my analogy.
Yes.
Because I believe that it's passed through my system already. I was sick back in February.
Yeah, that's the scary part, Mr. Murray, is the fact that people who, like Meek Mill, rapper Meek Mill, who said he might have gotten it back in December, or DJ Jazzy Jeff, who believes that he had it, although he can't prove it, that people caught it early. But but we're glad that whatever sickness that you had, that you were able to overcome it. And I'm very thankful that you were able to come on and give your perspective in regards to what's going on in the funeral homes and what the rules and laws are, how things have changed, and perhaps permanently certain industries will change forever. So I thank you very much for coming on and sharing your story with us, sir. And I'm definitely looking forward to speaking with you in other forums in regards to the changes that are being made with funerals these days. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. God bless you.
All right. God bless you.
Thank
Take care.
you.
All right.
And we're bringing back on Romeo International.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good conversation, definitely, Terry. Thank you for bringing him on, because a lot of people don't realize a lot of the things, like he said, they had to change their entire way of conducting funeral services due to COVID-19, and it's still very real. People are not able to be there for their loved one's funeral. You know, you're only able to have, I think, 10 people. It may have increased now to, I don't know, 25, but still, that is nothing compared to, you know, typical funerals and how many people would be allowed to come. So it's a very different day, and it's very sad. So we definitely want people to still be aware of that, because COVID-19 is still real.
Yeah, it's still very real. We don't know when it's going to go back to normal anytime soon. You know, it could be this time next year. It could be later this year when you can start filling up the funeral home and churches to properly mourn your loved ones. That is just devastating to people when you have to do a drive-by, when you have to pull up, you know, or congregate at a movie theater, outdoor movie theater, and conduct one over, you know, I've seen that I think somewhere in Texas, where they have in a screen, they have the person on the screen and the people are sitting out there in the parking lot. That's just so impersonal. You can't touch the person. And that is what's devastating about the funerals today. So I'm glad, very happy that Mr. Murray, of William G. Murray and Sons Funeral Home in Atlanta was able to share his perspective on that. It's very important because people need to know.
And it's heartbreaking to everyday people. You know, I know everybody on this panel. I know we care about each other. We love each other. I've never shared this, but you know, it's been months since I've had the opportunity to like hug my mother. You know, and we live in the same house, but I have to be precautious because my mother has, I think, one or two of the preconditions that could activate it. So, you know, I have to be aware of my ins and outs and who I touch and who I'm around. So, like you said, King James, it's a daily precaution that you literally gotta watch every single second you step outside the door. That's just what it is right now.
Amir, did you have something? I thought you wanted to say something.
Definitely. I mean, I definitely think it's important. I mean, we've seen, like you said earlier, as far as what happened with in Albany and at that funeral, and it's just, you know, they have to accommodate so many people. They used to accommodating so many people that, you know, it changes how they operate. One thing that I did want to ask him, as far as I didn't get a chance to do it, was to ask him about as far as the bodies. You know, how they're dealing with bodies now, because we don't know if the virus can be spread
after they're passed.
After they're passed. So that was a question I wanted to get. I know we had to wrap them up, but that's something I'm really curious about, how they deal with the bodies now with the pandemic going on. So
yeah, well, I mean, he definitely mentioned like they're treating everyone as if they died from COVID-19. So everybody, you know, they're taking, I guess, those next precautions to, you know, make sure that they protect themselves, you know, and everyone who, you know, comes to the funeral home.
And it has to be extra, and it has to be extra stressful. You know, it just amplifies the stress because of the fact that they're already dealing with a very somber situation on a daily basis, multiple times a day. And then you have to take precautions now, and you have to deal with the fact that you could catch it if you don't take precautions from someone that has deceased. So that's that has to amplify the stress. So we have our CEO back on, rolling out, Mr. Munson. Steve, how you doing, sir? Welcome back.
Hey, Terry, great interview team. I think the cultural impact, this is probably funeral director number 5 or 6 for us on rolling out. So I think Murray Brothers clearly brought the perspective that is still being silent, our pain when they think about during a pandemic, during protest, The funeral director definitely in Minneapolis had to receive the body of our fallen brother, George Floyd. I mean, they are on the front line, no matter if they choose to or not. When individuals are passing, that is part of it. We need to recognize that. I mean, and we're not able to say goodbye, not only the family, the public, the general public. There have been so many people that have fallen. So it's a cultural shock in people passing silently. So it's totally changing our culture.
Yeah, speaking of Albany, Georgia, thank you and shout outs to Janice Simmons from Albany, Georgia for watching us. And God bless your town, which has recovered from that outbreak because of one funeral or two funerals. And then the coronavirus exploded. So, yeah, God bless your town.
Yeah, man, 2020 just I'm over 2020. Like I don't it's June, team. Rolling out AM, it is only June. January started off with a bang. So I don't know where else we can go from here. I'm waiting on the aliens.
It seems like every month is like taking us to a whole new level, man. I mean, we were talking. I was talking to Cass before this pandemic hit, and it was like every week something was happening. We had Kobe pass, then we had Pop Smoke pass, and then we get this pandemic, and now we in this situation where everything is exploded with the George Floyd situation, and it seems like you're right. Every month or every few weeks, 2020 is trying to teach us something.
And every time I see a big bug, I want to make sure. No, go ahead.
There's a cautionary tale, everybody, and we've got to make sure that we don't start with George. Literally, this was the buildup. George Floyd was kind of like the lighting of the candle or the stick. This has continued for 400 years. This didn't start with George Floyd. I mean, we talked about hiding. DAs hiding the truth from us. A mother working with the funeral director in Brunswick, thinking that her son committed a crime, burying him, questioning his behavior, only to find out 2 months later that the truth was he was murdered. So it didn't start then. This is Sandra Bland. This is Trayvon Martin. So part of the injustice is the injustice we face every day.
Right.
It lit it up, Amir. I mean, it was just, none of us could breathe. We've been in rooms where we can't breathe. Black media is on the end of the red carpet. So I think it's a whole different concept. So when you talk about it, Amir, I think the injustice is what people are talking about, First King James. It lit something inside everybody to say, we all can't breathe. And these are more. Black Lives Matters we didn't hear that 4 months ago, but all of a sudden the hashtag has come alive again. So the movement continues, but let's not just weigh on him, because all those mothers and fathers who have lost children, brutalized, you've interviewed some of them, who's now a congresswoman. She lost her son. He didn't do anything to anybody and got shot in a car. So it's been a huge issue, period. The economic, social, health disparities. So I think that's part of it, Cass, in the city.
And I wanted to point out something, because this just popped up on Rolling Out's Twitter as a trend, and it coincides with King James, Amir, what you guys just said. Amongst the pandemic, amongst the protesting, the sad part is gun sales have went up 80% in a month. So the fear mongering or the people's I don't know who's buying it, what race, but the fact that gun sales have went up 80%, but there's still not enough adequate testing for people for COVID. There's still being people attacked in protest, and people are looting, or other races are looting. Gun sales are still, the selling of guns has still went up. That's a problem. That's a major problem. But our guest is here.
Hey, guest, how are you?
Miss Jasmine.
Hello, Jasmine.
Good morning. How's it going, everyone?
Come on, Jasmine. You know
Morning.
what it is? It's a tense morning in our community. We need to do gooder right now, right about now. We definitely need the love and individuals like you who are phenomenal change agents in our community. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience? If you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, Jasmine Crow.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jasmine Crow. I'm the founder and CEO of an Atlanta-based startup called Gooder, and we operate with the goal of ending hunger and reducing food waste in this country. And so, to give you guys a little bit of a perspective, in the United States alone, about 72 billion pounds of perfectly good food is wasted when almost 42 million people go hungry a year. So it just doesn't make sense that so much food goes to waste when so many people go hungry. Obviously, during the times of COVID-19, those numbers have almost doubled. We've seen that about 40 million Americans are on unemployment. And those are just the numbers of people that have been able to file for unemployment, but there's so many who just don't qualify. So we've seen just a huge uptick in people that are needing food. And a lot of people just don't know where their next meal is coming from, where their next check is coming from. So it's a tough time, sadly.
For individuals who want to be able to participate in your movement, because what I see you as is a movement solution-oriented CEO who has purpose for her being and purpose to solve a problem. What can we do?
I mean, I think, so often, and I say this just because I think a lot of us, we always want to give and we want to support, and so much money and support always goes to like the really big organizations. And I said this, I think yesterday, just as everything is going on with the protests, people always look to give to these really big names, but there's a lot of people, grassroots like myself, that are really doing the work that will never get the same amount of support as like a Feeding America, a No Kid Hungry, Save the Children. But we're really deeply rooted in the communities. We are probably the only food source, if you will, that allows families to choose which meats they like. So we have Beyond Meat if they're vegan or vegetarian. We have 6 meat selections, including shrimp, salmon, chicken, ribs, ground beef, and ground turkey. We provide every family with anywhere from 10 to 20 pounds of fresh produce. And so we do this free every single day. I have a team of about 45 people. I pay all of my employees $15 an hour so that they can provide a fair living wage to their families. And we just don't get the same support. So if anyone wants to help us, we provide families a box of food that lasts them for about 10 to 14 days. It costs us about $80. And that's delivery included, or those families can pick up in our drive-through. So we're really looking just for support. Any way that we can get it, it would be really helpful for us. People that want to maybe do a food drive for us, I could provide a list of things that we're collecting. We want to work with more farmers. So if there are farmers, especially African-American farmers, that have surplus food that they're just not able to sell right now because of everything that's happening with coronavirus, contact us. We're constantly buying fresh produce every day. And so, or just spread the word about us too, right? Let people know what we're doing. We started in Atlanta in 2017. We've recovered, over 3 million pounds of food. During the times of coronavirus alone, we're over 1 million meals provided. And, we really care. And if people want or need food, they can visit our website at gooder.co, and that's GOODR.co. They can sign up to pick up in our drive-through. If they have infants in the home or they're seniors, we'll even deliver it to them.
Let's see. No, go ahead, Roman.
Question, Jasmine. young guy question. What's considered food waste? Are we talking about home, restaurant, or could you help me with that?
Yeah, so I think I would consider the amount that I gave you, that total number is what comes from consumer facing businesses. So these are restaurants, hotels, convention centers, stadiums and arenas, colleges and universities. So that is, and this is edible food. So a lot of times think of, you have a big gala and there's supposed to be 1,500 attendees. Well, typically any venue is going to prepare for about 5% overage just for whatever reason. And then say 750 actually show up. Then now you have 750 meals that were prepared, good meals that now just go to waste. And then just consider how many events happen every single day. Restaurants that are, pre-preparing things for drive-throughs or pre-making side items, lasagnas. Italian restaurants are notorious for this. And that's why they started doing those take-home pastas. A lot of people don't know that. But you see so many restaurants, the Olive Gardens, the Maggiano's, where you can buy one and they'll give you one because they make pans and pans of food. And if they don't sell it, it just goes to waste. And I know that for a fact. I used to bartend at Maggiano's.
Okay, thanks for telling me, because I'm on my way there now.
Yeah, tons of food just goes to waste from the restaurant industry. Grocery stores, I always talk about chicken in the warmer. All of those rotisserie chickens that you see at Publix, all the fried chicken, everything in their warming case, all of it gets thrown away every night. Yeah, all the meat that's supposed to has a sell by date of like June 3rd, if they don't sell it today, then they just throw it away. Even though we all know, and our grandparents will tell us, you can get that meat and freeze it and it'll be good. But if they don't sell it out of their, displays, if you will, it just goes to waste. So millions and millions of pounds every single day. I think something like 1 million rotisserie chickens go to waste in this country every day. Because just think of every grocery store that has those chickens. If they don't sell them, they just go to waste.
Right. No, I did. Thank you for being on, and congratulations on your business success. I wanted to talk about. I know that certain homeless shelters had an agreement with certain restaurants or farmers or whatever, so that their access non-perishable items can be transferred over to there. How do we further, or what can the public and the media do to help further the education and bring light to the fact that how many billions of food is wasted?
72 billion pounds.
That's incredible to me.
And keep in mind, that's just from the restaurant industry. We also waste a lot of food too, about 240 pounds of food per year. Every single one of us wastes, just subconsciously, we don't know it. So I think as I wrap up, the biggest thing I could tell you guys to do is do what I did when I was reaching out to restaurants, is I would say to those restaurants, why don't you guys donate your surplus food? People are hungry, and really, you are supporting these restaurants. You said you're going to Maggiano's. You should ask them, hey, do you guys ever have food that goes to waste at the end of the night? They may say no, but of course they do. But really, we have to kind of have a voice to kind of speak about this like we do so many other issues.
Well, we want to thank you for coming on. Definitely want to interview you at length. So we'll reach back out so we can make sure. And then we need to figure out, if nothing else for holiday, let us kind of get past the election. I commit at Rolling Out that we will work with you and figure out how to do a Feed Your Soul food bank with Gooder. I'm committed to that. And we can educate our community on how to get behind individuals like you that have done such a phenomenal job. Congratulations for the love and compassion.
Thank you, guys.
As being a true super sister with superpowers, solving a problem in this community. But
and making money, solving a problem and making money.
Yeah, you got to do it. I love it. And hiring people.
Right.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Peace.
Thank you.
Bye.
Man,
I think that's the ultimate American dream: to solve a problem, make money, hire people. That's the ultimate American dream. That's the quintessential American dream right there.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well this morning. How are you guys doing?
LA.
Yes.
So I want to introduce the next guest is Nia Miranda, a brave sister. and we want to play. We have a video of.
I want you to know this is not. Don't police people's way. Let me tell you this. This is not a black woman who's put in Black Lives Matter. I just want you to know that when. Right, but y'all doing that for us, and we ain't asked you to do that. Listen, don't spray stuff on here when they gonna blame black people for this, and black people didn't do it. There's a black person, but we did. If we wanted you to do it, we would have asked. They not gonna show y'all faces when they see that on their building. They gonna blame that on us. Y'all are part of the problem. News come on, they gonna say we did that. We didn't do that. Stuff like this ain't right. Stuff like this ain't right. That's what the problem is. We out here standing together peacefully, protesting without any problems. You got people of all races spraying on buildings talking about Black Lives Matter. That ain't even us. You got police officers coming to a peaceful protest spraying gas on us. We ain't even did nothing. Don't let the media fool you.
Don't let the media fool you.
Wow, powerful stuff. So first I want you to introduce yourself, let everybody know who you are, and then I want you to take us to that moment that, before the march and what was going on during that incident.
Okay, well, my name is Nia Miranda Duckett, and I'm the founder of Bringing Love Back. I'm an actress, artivist, filmmaker, and I'm a community leader. Okay. Looking at that video, it still makes me feel something in my stomach. Before that situation happened, honestly, you guys, the protest was absolutely peaceful. I mean, it was people of all colors, all ages, all backgrounds, tax brackets, all coming together on one accord to fight injustice, to, put an end to police brutality. And it was probably one of the most beautiful things I had ever seen. Looking at the media, it seems as if they make it seem like we're so divided as a people. And when I was there on those front lines of the protest, I realized that wasn't the truth. We're actually more unified than what the media likes to show. And I just had such a great time. I met allies. I met a woman who was 73 years old of Asian descent who walked 3.5 miles with me that day. So I was feeling good. And at 3 p.m., the police comes with guns out, spraying gas, hitting us with rubber bullets. And I was confused as to what was going on because I know what I had been a part of was too peaceful. I wasn't expecting to see y'all at the party, And after running from them and running into those two women, it made me furious because I know the power of feel, Like, let's take Ahmaud Arbery, for instance. It took 3 months before anybody was even, any kind of justice was served on his behalf. And that's because a video came out and we as a people rose our voices. We shouldn't have to do that, but we do. And so I knew that if I didn't take a video, if I didn't post it and tag one of my friends so he can tell the celebrities and put that out there, that the narrative would have been that someone that looked like me defaced Starbucks and look at the Black Lives Matter protests, and it would have been a completely defamed mission. And we've been fighting for 400 plus years. I couldn't allow someone to come in and infiltrate the message that we were putting out there when it was so important. We're marching for a man that lost his life. You can't play with that.
Absolutely.
Munson. Sorry, go ahead, Terry.
No, Munson can go first.
Well, now we're going to fight on Nia, who gets to talk to you and here and rolling out. But I want to say thank you. If nothing else, if nobody has said you're a sister with superpowers. And at that moment, the courage and the intelligence, the intellectual capacity that is omitted. See, my image of you was what I saw. My image of all the dynamic women who have fought in the protest. And sisters have been so strong in this entire movement. I just want to say thank you, because when I saw you, I was like, oh, we got to make sure that Rolling Out tells her story. Because I'm telling my brother Don Lemon, he needs to have you on his show.
Oh gosh, thank you.
To show a video I don't need to see again. I don't need to see another video of my brother being executed. I'm good on that video. I am telling everybody, let's stop this video. We're good on it. I don't need to be traumatized. I don't need to dream about this, but I want to say thank you to what you've done, because when you saw that as a filmmaker, the post-production that somebody else was going to play, what did you see them doing in creating a film that would punish all of us and destroy the movement?
Oh gosh, it would have been a complete waste, honestly. I mean, although we're gonna keep fighting. You know, I believe that we have never stopped fighting. Our fight might be stronger at times than others, but we're gonna continue to fight. But we don't need anything else going against what it is that we're doing. You know, I feel that, especially in the media, I feel like it's time's up on using our likeness, our talents, our skills to make a profit off of our backs, but not being able to stand up for us in our devastation, our tragedy, and our pain. Like, we as a community, Black people are the most forgiving community I believe there is. You know, we're compassionate people. We're constantly forgiving people time and time again, even after they've done us wrong. And when you look in the media, it seems as if we're thugs. Thugs? The fact that we're fighting for freedom and we're not fighting for revenge shows you who we are, you know? And Gil Scott Heron said the revolution would be televised. And me and Miranda have taken that on and put a little remix on it. And I'm like, you know, the revolution will be televised, but it'll be televised by us. And that's what's gonna make the difference. It's gonna be our narrative, it's gonna be our voice, and we're gonna make the change. And honestly, you guys, I'm more hopeful than I've been in a very long time. I feel that at this time, we will see a change that I've never seen in my lifetime.
Yeah, and shout out to your friend who videotaped that while you were.
Well, I was actually videotaping it. So me and my friend Courtney Cole, I'm from Detroit, Michigan. She's from Chicago.
What up, Joe?
What up, Joe? We're some Midwest girls, you know, and we're out there being peaceful, but you know, the Midwest could turn up too. And it was
I'm a Buckeye, I know.
See, you know, and it was kind of like, look, it's gonna stop, and it's gonna stop today. You know, Courtney was ready. I was ready. Now, my girl Courtney, she took her mask down. I wasn't trying to catch the Rona, but I knew that I had to say something right then and right there.
Yeah. And I just wanted to speak to, you said that about the time that these people appeared, the police, LAPD or the sheriffs, state police or whoever came, you know, with guns out and started shooting tear gas. So it almost as if it was like a triangulation crossfire, like police on one side, agent provocateurs, outsiders on the other side, creating mess that gives the police justification to shoot the bullets at you. And meanwhile, the agent provocateurs walk away. I mean, I saw the arrogance of those two white people standing there as if they had the right to deface the buildings and dared you to touch them.
You know, and then the fact that they were willing to argue back and forth with me. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. If you're here to stand aside me, then you need to know your place. And this is not it. Our less melanated allies, you have privilege. You can fight the game with privilege. What we can't do, you can go in certain rooms, you know, you can go into your family and start having a conversation. We don't need you to be spray painting Black Lives Matters on the Starbucks.
Well, you can change your last name. You can dye your hair.
You know what I'm saying?
So I want to ask you, what's your message? Because we've seen this across the nation where individuals who are not a part of the community are coming in defacing things. They're coming in, throwing bricks through windows. And you're right, like people are still looking at Black individuals, the Black people who are rallying during this moment. What do you say to those who are coming in from the outside and coming just to deface, just to destroy?
And add that you guys are now being able to capture these people. See, technology is the great equalizer because now we can capture these people in the act, because otherwise they would have got away with it and we would have got the blame.
You know, when I originally captured the film, I had no clue where it would go. I just was in the moment, and I'm like, you're not gonna get away.
The crazy part was when they said, "Who asked you to do that?" See, that what touched my soul was when you said, "Well, who asked you to do that? Like, who asked you to do that?"
And she said, "Well, we have black comrades." What? What does that mean? You know, like what was interesting to me is that it was tons of people around that area and no one said anything. And why that was so important to me is if I didn't say anything, what would be the difference between me and those 3 cops that watched that man have his knee on George Floyd's neck? If they would have said something, we would be in a whole different state of mind right now. So I can't say arrest those 3 cops. They should have said something. And then I walk out there in honor of George Floyd and I don't say something to someone who's trying to defame what it is that we're marching for. It was a responsibility.
Right, but it was
definitely. So I want to.
Go ahead.
So no. So just what's your message? What's your message to those who want to participate but they're coming down and they're causing disruption? What is your message to them?
My message is we won't have it. Either you are going to fight alongside us the way we need you to, or take your butt home. We don't need you here. You know, we can do it ourselves. Please believe when we come together and we're united, we can change things that most people couldn't imagine. So either you're going to come and help us like you're supposed to, or you can stay at home and watch the revolution from your TV.
Now, what's your shirt say? Because we've got Cass in the city, and she's a very, very fashion icon, but I want people to see what you're wearing today.
I am wearing Very Black from Unbossed Apparel. This is a Black-owned company. I have on my Proud Black Woman pin from HDC Apparel, and this is a Black company. And I'm wearing my Tina's Angels bracelet, and this was made in Ghana. You know, I support our people as much as I can, and honestly, I feel like now more than ever, we got an opportunity to take our money and to put it inside of our community. You know, we've been sitting at home. A lot of people haven't been at work. Some people been getting stimulus checks. Now we can use it and put it towards our community instead of constantly just, you know, stimulating theirs.
Yes, I love that.
Thank you.
Now, I think the other thing was when people say comrades, that's not a language we use.
Not at all.
Those we don't walk around and say that's my comrade. That definitely sounds like something out of a Russian movie. That's my comrade.
Yeah.
Comrade? Who's comrade? I don't know anybody using that language that, you know, is not from outside our culture and movement.
Yep. I agree. Comrades, and then it was another group there, real suspicious group, that was putting ACB on buildings. And so I Googled it while I was out there, like, what? ACAB. I Googled it, like, what is this? And it stands for All Cops Are Bastards. That's not our lingo either. Now, I know I didn't heard a bastard, but it was specifically about a child that, you know, situation that happened with in our community. I've never heard us say something like that. So I knew, oh, y'all not us either. That's not us.
Yeah.
So the bad thing is, like, some white individuals, they're using this as their purge. They're using this to loot. They're using this to break things. They're not even on our message. They're not even on our same path to try to get to the goals that we want. And they're just coming down and causing confusion. You're right. That language isn't something that we would use at all.
Well, we want to thank you, Nia, for really sharing your story. I look forward to meeting you next time I'm in LA. I think that you are a phenomenal young woman, sister with superpower, and know that Rolling Out is here, and we love you so much for all that you do. You make us proud. I don't know if anybody told you that we make us proud, but we are very proud of you. From all of us at Rolling Out AM and just the Rolling Out family. Our producer says shout outs. She's in Detroit. Portia, she's from Detroit, and all the Detroit family. Know that we love you here. So talk to you soon. We'll be in touch, and keep moving and keeping the movement alive. Very proud of you. Rolling Out.
Thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Oh man.
Powerful
that was dope. No, that was super dope. Especially the comment you said, who told you to do this?
All right.
Hey.
So
can you hear us?
Hey.
There you go.
Hello.
What's up?
You tell us, Juan and Lisa Winans. You tell us what's up. What is up?
Well, I just heard somebody talking about Detroit, so you know I gotta rep my city. What's up, Detroit?
Oh Lord, here we go.
Exactly.
Excuse me. What up though? Shout out to Detroit always.
I'm sure she'd say what up though if she was on camera. Our producer Portia.
Definitely. So just start off, introduce yourselves, man. Let everybody know where you at. Let everybody know what's going on with you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Juan Winans.
I'm Lisa Winans. We are hailing from DC.
Yeah. But I'm hailing from Detroit.
Okay.
We live in DC. Which we also want to make sure I make that clear once again, but I digress.
Yeah. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. He's from Detroit, Michigan. And we're excited to be on with you guys this morning. There's so much going on, so much to talk about, and we're ready.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, if I get to kick this off, welcome to Rolling Out AM, Cass in the City, AR Shaw, Romeo. I want to go with this way. What's going on in DC?
I think DC is no different than so many other cities across the country, and really what we're seeing is a global support kind of mounting for this thing that we have been facing for so many years. And so it's great to see that support coming from all corners of the globe. But DC, people are tired.
Yeah.
And people are fed up, and people are kind of feeling pressured. We feel backed in the corner. We feel like we don't have any other option. And so we're taking to the street, as we have many times throughout history, to make sure our voices are no longer ignored, that we are heard, that our needs, that our desires, that the things that we know we're deserving of are being heard, and that we're speaking as loud as we can. And so this is our right afforded to us. It's our God-given right before it's a constitutional right. I think some people forget that often. We have a song called It Belongs to Me, and one of the lyrics is freedom belongs to me. Freedom doesn't belong to us because a piece of paper granted that to us. Freedom belongs to us because we're made in the image of Almighty God, and He said that we are free.
Yeah.
And so we're just demanding those things that we know we are deserving of.
Yeah, there's thousands of people that were out last night demonstrating and protesting peacefully, and we're proud of DC. We're proud of our people, and we just are believing God and trusting God that that He's ultimately in control, and we do our part and make sure that our voice is heard.
Yeah, and not just protesting, but voting.
Yeah.
Thousands of people out yesterday voting. Let's not forget about that critical aspect of it, because that's a big part of the fight.
Absolutely. And you guys, you just mentioned It Belongs to Me, a song that you all released prior to everything that's going on, but you mentioned how prevalent it is right now. Why was this song important for you, even when you released it, the messaging behind it? Why was it so important for you guys to put that out?
So we didn't realize that this song was going to come out at such a pivotal time. We wrote the song. God gave this song to Juan over about 18 months ago. And it's been a real process, finishing the song, connecting with the right people, getting Pastor Marvin to be on the song and bless us with his incredible gift. So God's timing is amazing. And only He knew that the song would come out first, during the COVID-19 crisis. There's the second stanza of the song starts out saying, "It belongs to me, healing belongs to me." And that's been a real war cry and battle cry for us in our home and for our friends and family and people that have listened to this song telling us, I'm declaring healing. And like Juan said, freedom belongs to me. Like we didn't know that this song would come out and speak to so many ills of society, but we are grateful that God has used us in this way and that he knows ultimately what's going on.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I wanna talk about the appearance on Songland with Boys to Men. How did that all come about?
Well, you wanna?
Yeah, sure. So I was in a group called Out of Eden, contemporary gospel group, and back in the 90s, early 2000s, and
Shout out.
our record company president Joey Elwood called me up and was like, our friend is doing this show. I think it's a dope show. I think you and Juan would be great. So we go through the whole process. You know, we're talking to producers, we submit songs, and we get to the final round. And they're like, if you make it, you got to be in LA on Monday. This is like Thursday or Friday. And over the weekend, they tell us, you know, we're sorry, your song wasn't picked. And we just were like, okay, you know, really kind of sad by it, disappointed, you know, as you can imagine. But then they kept in contact and said, you know, would you guys submit again? And once we kind of got over our feelings,
and for season 2,
for season 2, we decided, you know what, let's go for it. You know, we didn't make it the first time, but we may make it the second time, and who knows how God wants to use this. So we submitted again, get to LA, and they tell us you're going to be presenting to Boys to Men, which is huge for us because we, you know, they're icons. We love them. So it was crazy.
Yeah. And we had a wonderful experience being on the show. You know, we've been writing songs for a while now, but to be on the show and have such high caliber songwriters and producers, and then also, you know, Boys to Men is sitting there. Wanye starts singing the chorus of our song. It's like, yo, this is crazy. But we got such amazing feedback, and it was a reminder for us that you're always learning. You know, we've been writing songs for a long time, but we learned a ton, not just from the judges and the mentors, but also from fellow contestants. And it's easy to sit back in a room like that. There was so much admiration, so much connectivity, and it started to feel like a family by the end of the shooting time.
Yeah.
And so we're grateful for the opportunity. It was really the chance of a lifetime to go out and to display and to really, hopefully, in our hearts, reflect God's glory, reflect his purpose in our lives, and just kind of showcase the talent and the grace that he's given us.
Yeah, we got to meet a lot of dope up and coming songwriters, really make some cool connections with some people. So that was really nice as well.
Absolutely. And we have a short video clip that we want to bring up in regards to your song, It Belongs to Me. So we're just going to play that now.
Powerful.
Yes.
If we could speak to the concept behind that video, how did that video come about?
Well, a lot of that is just footage we took in the studio. It's I think a lot of people may listen to the song and subconsciously or maybe consciously assume that Pastor Marvin, who is my uncle, is my dad's twin brother, and obviously Marvin Winans is the legendary, you know, member of the Winans original brothers group and 6-time Grammy Award winner and all these things. He's my uncle, so they would assume this is just like a natural progression, or he would, of course he would be on the song with them. But that's not how we saw it at all. To have him on this song for us is really a dream come true. We've had such deep admiration and pride really in who he is to music. And so we're no less fans than anybody else, even though he's our uncle. So to have him listen to the song, to say, Juan, this song is anointed, I would love to be a part of it, and to come in the studio with us at the famed Capitol Records out in Los Angeles, California, where so many amazing records were made, it's really a dream come true. And so it was our effort to document those moments.
Yeah.
And we just kind of turned it into a clip to let people know what that behind the scenes process was like. Going in the studio with him, he and Aaron Lindsay. So shout out to our co-producer, Aaron Lindsay.
Yeah.
Aaron, if you're watching, we love you. Aaron really helped us craft the sound. And he's an amazing producer, fantastic musician. He's really just a great guy. And so we all got together, and that's really what you're looking at. It's us in the studio in that process of creating, singing,
You got
arranging.
Warren Campbell, heavy hitter Warren Campbell,
Warren
a good
Campbell's
friend
in
of
the
ours in
video.
there. Deborah Joy Winans from Greenleaf, our sister, came by to hang out with us. So it's a family affair.
No, I love the black and white look. I think that shows the purity of it. Y'all gotta drop a snippet though. I gotta hear these vocals though. I gotta get the drop. Look, since you all Detroit though. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I need to get a drop.
I mean, wow.
You know, luckily for me, I don't come into the song until way later.
Oh, do you see this? You see how y'all doing me? This is like a quadruple team. Where's my help at?
You know what I'm saying? I mean, so what up though?
I'll hum a little
It
bit.
belongs to me. Salvation belongs to me. And I have everything that makes salvation complete. I know the work is already done. By the power of his blood, I know it's mine. It belongs to me. I'm sorry. I just woke up about an hour ago, so
no,
you done 5 in the PM, and I can give you a little something.
You done took us to church. It's all good. We appreciate that so much.
I just woke up.
God.
I woke up like this.
Whoa! What's on screen?
Oh, let me ask you guys this question. How do you guys feel as artists and being a part of a label? How do you guys feel about all the artists and labels that took part yesterday in the blackout?
Yes, so we are recently signed to Dare Records. A friend of ours, Michael Anthony Taylor, started the label. He participated in the blackout. All of our publicists, our community participated in the blackout, as did we. We feel like it's really important, obviously, for us as a people to take a stand, to be the first ones. But what I'm really encouraged by is all the emails, all the support that I've gotten from various, like the restaurants in DC, from you know, the strategists and different, like, you know, news outlets and retail outlets that I follow standing with us. It's like, you know, obviously, you know, I think 45 has made it very clear that he wants to take America back someplace. And I think it's really encouraging to see the many of the places where we spend our money saying, no, we're standing with you guys. We're participating. Black Lives Matter. And so that's really encouraging.
Yeah.
What?
I'm sorry, y'all see me holding this camera because my tripod is tripping. So don't ignore my.
It's all good.
Don't ignore my weird arm right here. Just let that be what it is.
It's all good.
It is. So look, man, during these times, these turbulent times, man, we need a lot of people need some spiritual advice, some things that's going to help them through this day. What do you give? What do you guys give? What's some words of advice that can help the people through this day?
You know, to our people, to our communities, I would say, don't let your anger, which is justified, get the better of you. There's a proverb that keeps coming to mind, which simply says, an offended brother or sister is more difficult to reason with or to win than a fortified city. And the fact is, our community is full of, and really should be full of, angry and offended brothers and sisters. And so to us, I would say, don't let your anger make you make illogical or irrational decisions, right? Let's support one another. I will never support the idea of looting or destroying public property. I just can't. I don't believe it's right. And ultimately, I think it detracts from our goal and our mission and our objective, which is to simply walk in our God-given right as people made in the image of God with purpose and to have the equality that we are due. And so when you go out and you demonstrate, keep those things at the forefront. To our brothers and sisters, to our white brothers and sisters, I would say, hey, come to the table, because we are an offended people. And so we are hurt, we're angry, but come with the right heart, come with the hope that you can win us, because I think we are open, our hearts are open, our minds are open. And I think history proves that they really always have been. Yeah. We just want what we are deserving of. We want to be treated fairly. We don't want to be marginalized. We don't want to be oppressed. We don't want to be discriminated against or minimized. Yeah. And so we are people that history points out, we are full of love. We are full of patience and kindness. And I hope that we can come together and keep the important things at the forefront.
And I would just add that, as we're fighting for our freedom, to fight for our joy as well. Watching the Kirk Franklin, Fred Hammond verses, and just the joy that was found in the song and the music and how they were interacting, it really lifted me and just reminded me that we as African Americans, we carry stress around with us in our DNA from the Middle Passage all the way till now, and it's killing us. And so if we can figure out a way to operate in a mentally healthy space and fight for our freedom, but also you just fight for our joy and our rights, but just remember to keep a smile on your face as much as you can.
Indeed.
Definitely.
You know what? You know what? Oh, go ahead, Cass.
No, go ahead, Roman.
You know what, AR? I think I done came up with it. I think I done found some.
Juan
and Lisa versus me and Cassidy in a battle. I'm ready for it.
Okay.
I like it.
Let's do it.
I'm interested in this.
What are we doing? We playing spades?
Look.
That's about it.
Hey, y'all,
right.
I'm a confess
Because
right
I can't sing.
Family, can I make a confession?
Yes.
I want y'all to pull my black card now, but I don't know how to play spades.
Oh, hey, I don't either.
I was raised in the holiness in a Pentecostal family. We ain't had no playing cards. I didn't see playing cards till I met and married this one. And then all kind of like defilement and stuff started happening. I was like, oh, his black card is revoked. Dang, y'all, come on.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a little rusty myself. It's not, it's, look.
It's okay.
I lost my black card too.
Bring him in.
Learn together.
We'll bring him in.
Yes. I just want to thank you all for coming on today, and sharing this moment with us, helping us to stay encouraged right now. Where can people, keep up with you all in your music and the word and everything you all are putting out right now?
Well, all of our social is Juan and Lisa Winans, which is JuanandLisaWinans, Juan and Lisa Winans, across all platforms. It Belongs to Me is out, featuring the one and only Pastor Marvin L. Winans. We believe that this song will bless you, that'll encourage you on a regular basis. Our prayer is that when you listen to the song, you feel the presence, the power, and the love of God. And so check it out, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you, but Google Play. There's so many platforms. I'm just amazed at how many people have music, but wherever you hear music or buy music, it's there. Check it out.
Yes, we appreciate it. We love y'all.
Thank you.
Much respect. Much respect.
Okay, I'm just getting ready.
Come on, man, let it out. Let that vocal out.
I just woke up. Like you said, I just woke up.
I understand. I sympathize.
Take care.
Thanks.
Y'all be blessed, man.
Bye.
Yeah. Oh, man. Rolling Out AM, man. Wake up. Because we up.
The wake up call. Rolling Out AM. The Winans.
Yeah.
We needed that inspiration, man. We needed that during these times.
All right, Terry Shropshire, Rolling Out AM, the wake up call. I am Munson Steve, joined by Cass in City, Romeo International, A.R. Shaw, and the first King James. Let's go to your report, King James.
Yes, we might not be able to get through all of them. I'll try to keep them short because I have a tendency to be very verbose. But this is tragedy. This is tragic right here. A retired Black police captain in St. Louis, his name is David Dorn, was shot and killed when he responded to a friend whose alarm went off at his pawn shop, and he was shot and killed by one of the looters. And so this brings up back again the issue of protesting and the people who exploit that opportunity for their own good and then committed a crime from which the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department do not yet have a suspect. But hopefully the cameras there captured what had went on. And what is even more tragic is that his body was shown as he was dying on Facebook Live. One of the state representatives saw that. And so that's trauma twice, him dying and then people actually seeing it again. So condolences to the family of former Captain David Dorn. Next. This is interesting. The phrase "F the police" was popularized, of course, as we know, by the legendary group NWA, Ice Cube, and the late Eazy-E, and the rest of the crew. But this is an interesting time to drop this because it's already a volatile situation in America. And I wanted to pause here and get the opinions of my fellow co-host in regards to, is this the right time or is this the time to do this?
Woo! All right, everybody speaking one time.
Well, I'm a fan of YG. I think YG makes good West Coast music. He has like that essence of that West Coast sound that I really like. But this is a volatile moment. You don't want to push people over the edge because the people are already on the edge right now. I'm not sure if this is the correct moment to put this song out, but at the same time, it's like he has a First Amendment right to express himself. So this is how he believes that he wants to deal with this situation. But personally, I think that he probably could have waited another time to drop the song. But he does have the First Amendment right to drop it. So,
all right,
I'm not gonna
got there.
I'm not gonna play. Oh, go ahead, Kate.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Romeo.
Romeo, go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna play evens and odds. I'm gonna say no. Everything is already on 1,000. Why would you take it to 1,000 and then 1,000? So I'm gonna say no. I don't think this is a good time as a music connoisseur. Nope.
Okay. Well, on to the next subject in this, and thank you for y'all's opinion on this matter, because I do think that this is definitely pushing the envelope on the situation. Yes, BET, MTV, VH1, and multiple other Viacom stations went black for 8 minutes and 46 seconds to honor the memory of George Floyd, who, of course, passed away after being allegedly suffocated. That will be proven in the court of law. But we believe that he was suffocated to death by the officer. His name is Derek. Officer Derek. Somebody help me with the last name. It don't come to me.
Chauvin.
Derek Chauvin. On Memorial Day at that. So we memorialized George Floyd, and these stations did that in his memory. Next subject. Munson's, our publisher, Munson Steed, pointed this out multiple times, and they are going to come get you. The FBI and the LAPD have captured film, both in video and in pictures, of people looting for the self-gratification, rather. And they believe that they've gotten away with it. I mean, look at this. This is a whole, they're even taking carts. I mean, this is ridiculous. And so this gives a bad name and changes the narrative of what we were there for in the first place. This totally wipes it out and gives the opportunity, opens up the window of opportunity for the media to focus on this instead of George Floyd. Did anyone else have any comments about this situation and this picture in particular?
I wanted to go back to the one you did before, Terry. I actually saw that on TV, and I don't know if you all did, but it was a sound of breathing that was going on during that 8 minutes, just inhale, exhale, breathing during that. So it was very, it really brought a lot of emotion out of me, and I've seen a lot of people doing these protests where they're lying on the ground, they're kind of living in that moment, honoring George Floyd. So I thought that was very impactful. Just hearing breath is something we always talk about here with Carrie, just the power of breath. So it was something that was really impactful to me, just to see the words, I can't breathe, and to hear that inhale, exhale, and just to kind of put yourself in the space of what George Floyd was going through.
Oh, you're talking about the blackout by BET, MTV, and VH1, and other Viacom company. That was, and we're always looking for allies or people, corporations, companies, media outlets to help us take up the cause in our fight for justice. And so, yeah, that was a powerful moment to just black it out and then just have people sit there and look at the screen and then have that up there. That was a very, very powerful image.
And I appreciate it more, like we spoke earlier. We don't want to keep seeing the video of George Floyd, on the ground, this public lynching that we saw of him. We don't want to keep seeing that visual. So I thought this was another way that they did that effectively.
Absolutely. Did anyone else have any comments about that? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, go ahead, Amir.
No, I think to actually put yourself in a position where you can live through this 8 minutes, because 8 minutes is a long time. If anybody like I box, and I know Romeo does some boxing as well, and so when you box, like they have like 3-minute rounds, and those 3 minutes will wear you out. Right?
Wear you out.
It will like wear you out.
Wear you out.
So just imagine. Just imagine what George Floyd had to deal with for 8 minutes. What his life is being taken from him. So I think that was a very powerful moment, a great gesture to kind of bring light to like, okay, this is what this guy had to deal with for this amount of time.
Right.
And definitely. I think I have one more before we end, if we have the time. And this one is just, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the rapper Kaya, the notorious, the infamous Kaya has another, she absolutely peels Shekinah Joe like a banana. Basically, because if you saw the video where Shekinah Joe, she's a friend of Tiny Harris on T.I. and Tiny, The Family Hustle. During that reality show series is no longer is defunct now, but she came out and started crying and saying that Gucci ain't never done anything to y'all, and she was crying about people looting, and it just rapper Kaya took her to task for crying for Gucci, and she absolutely destroys her.
Oh.
It was #1 on Twitter last night and this morning. I don't know if it is anymore, but that is the reason why Kaya is trending again. She specializes in destroying people. What are your opinions on that particular situation?
Oh man, I wish you could have played the video.
Well, yeah, it's just a little bit, it's extremely profane, and
right.
So yeah. But I just thought that it was just wow, that was an interesting situation. Cass, did you have anything you wanted to say on that?
Well, I just, to speak to the fact of what has Gucci done to us. I don't know if you all remember, but Gucci has definitely had some very questionable and outright racist pieces that they've released in their collection. If y'all recall, there was one that was blatantly a resemblance of blackface. And you can go ahead to the site, because I definitely wrote a story about it, what Black brands you can support, what Black businesses, fashion retailers, and designers you can support instead of Gucci in that moment. So I think to say what has Gucci done to Black people is out of question. So I think a lot of what's going on right now is that people need to educate themselves before they speak out, because the internet is not taking any mess from anyone. People are getting canceled left and right every day. So I think it's very important to educate yourselves before you speak out, because you don't want to ruin what you've worked for, or all these things because misinformation.
That is true. If you're going to be canceled, at least be canceled on your truth and be educated and be resolute in your stance, and not come back later like some other people say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go into a racist chat," like some rapper have done. So yeah, that is a good point. So that is my report for today.
Hey man, thank you, man.
Thank you for that, Terry.
Terry, I think those are great moments. I think the 8.46 that Cass was talking about was representative of his breath, the moments that he's held. And I think that you so eloquently pointed out, both you and Amir, that, in that moment of time, they had a lot of decisions to make, Terry. They could have made a lot of decisions in all of that time. That's a long time to change your perspective on how you treated somebody. But there are 3 people still not in jail today. So when people want to ask, why are we still in the street? There are all the officers with all the shots in Louisville, and they're still at home in their beds, and they too are still free. So when we ask ourselves, and you hear people asking, well, why are we still doing it? Why are people out there? The injustice is still in our face. And there are funerals, kind of like thanks King James for bringing Murray Brothers, that we're still having to attend, everybody, in a pandemic. And we can't. Go ahead.
So Munson, you have a video that you wanna go to? You have a video?
Not really.
No.
Part of the trap that's being set and the intelligent young people that are displaying thank you. So in silence, I wanted to do that. I didn't want to show it at that moment, Amir. I clearly was trying to finish up with what King James. I didn't want people not understand the 8 minutes. I think that was a clear breathing moment. But I think for a lot of individuals, they don't know why we're still in the streets. There are a lot of free people. You know, our mayor has been, Keish Lance Bottoms has been very decisive that we're not tolerating police brutality in our city, questionable behavior. So what's taking so long, Louisville? What's taking so long, Terry?
Well, what's taking so long in Brunswick, Georgia? What took so long in Brunswick, Georgia, I should say. And that is the question right now. And like you said, that is the reason why people are in the streets. And that's why we appreciate the people who are on, got boots on the ground, and we appreciate the allies, even by people who normally don't speak out, like Tom Brady, like Carson Wentz of the Philadelphia Eagles. These are conservative people who usually don't speak out on socio-political issues, and now they're speaking out on this. And like Amir pointed out, this thing has gone international. I saw a video of New Zealand. The streets were filled. The people in New Zealand and the people in London were marching on behalf of George Floyd. So a lot of people are starting to recognize, so I definitely sense a paradigm shift, as the guest from Los Angeles pointed out, that she has a feeling that something is changing. I feel it as well.
All right, so definitely I want to go into my report, AR's report, and we're going to talk about what's happening in certain cities. Certain cities like New York and Chicago, there's different ethnic communities, and one community in New York, we can play this video.
Chill out. They're not even chill. Oh, Dykeman is ready. Yo, welcome. Oh, niggas is ready.
Yep. So just to give you guys some context on this video, this happened in the Dykeman community in Manhattan, which is known as Little Dominican Republic, and it's a Dominican community. And what you saw there was two Black individuals. They were in that community, and they were basically called the N-word, and they were ran out of the community from that community. And we've seen, and I know Munson, I'm sure you heard of the incidents that have happened in Chicago with the Latin Kings and some of the people in the Black communities and those clashes in Chicago. So we've seen racial incidents in certain cities where there are a lot of ethnic groups. The interesting thing about this Dominican Republic, or this Dominican video, is that Dominicans are Black, which is so crazy to me. And it's just like, they, for whatever reason, I guess their community, they see themselves as separate from Black people. And then in that moment, there was this racial tension that occurred. So just want to get your thoughts before I move to the next thing. What are your thoughts on that as far as these racist, acts towards Blacks from one from the Dominican community and in Chicago from the Latino community?
I think, like you said, they're Afro-Latino. Like, at the end of the day, we have more in common than we do differences. the end of the day, we're both minorities in this country. So I don't understand why this, clash is happening, why violence is happening. We need to come together. Like, we are minorities in this country. We're disenfranchised. We have to come together. So I disagree with this. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
Romeo, you have something to add?
Well, socially, it goes back to what we all talked about as a team last week. There's no plan. I can honestly tell you guys, socially, people are starting to divide, and they're starting to divide their particular belief or race. And I'm noticing that, whether it's Jewish, Asian, Black, mulatto, like, people are actually starting to separate themselves into their group instead of as a humanity. And I'll keep an eye on.
One of the things I want to say, and I don't want to lose this, we asked you, I think, Romeo, there was what's a young man? Because it is a pandemic, and I don't want to get lost. And there was a ESPN story on a young man at Oklahoma State. What was his name, Romeo?
Our producer has that. It was sent to her. The young man's name was, and I want to make sure that I say it correctly. Amen Badimiki test positive for coronavirus at Tulsa, in Tulsa at Oklahoma State. It was announced Tuesday that he had tested positive for corona and attended the protest that was going on in Tulsa. So he actually got it at the protest that he was at.
And our epidemiologist, Kenyatta Stevens, has continued as we go to the news of rolling out news from 7 to 9 tonight. You can tune in with myself and King James. But I want to make sure that we don't lose the fact that we're in a pandemic for all those young protesters. I don't want us to get lost. It costs money to go to the hospital. So you've got to mask up. You've got to have gloves on. I don't see enough gloves. I don't see masks staying on face. And I don't want us to lose that moment by it. What was the last one, Amir?
All right, so we have the global protest. Speaking about the protest, there's this thing is going global, and so I have images of what occurred in France, and as you can see. So as you can see, like, thousands of people have protested in France, London, Germany, Iran, Australia, New Zealand. So this thing is going global, and George Floyd's daughter actually alluded to this. We could pull up this video of her speaking yesterday. She's on the shoulders of former NBA star Steven Jackson.
He did what? Daddy changed the world. Daddy changed the world. That's right. Daddy changed the world.
Definitely, man. That's like a gut-wrenching moment. I'm sure you guys got a chance to see that. What were your thoughts when you saw this moment from George Floyd's daughter on the shoulders of Steven Jackson, pretty much saying that her father changed the world?
I thought it was extremely important. It was poignant, it was powerful, and it directly contradicted or contrasted against the narrative that the police unions and the media are disseminating about this man, calling him a career criminal. But whatever he did in his past, he moved from Houston area to Minnesota to change his life, and that is not being pointed out by the mainstream media or the police unions. And so I'm glad that he was able to be humanized by a beautiful young daughter who told a different narrative than the one that the media, the adults, have been perpetrating.
Super.
Accurate. I think it's just important to show, like, he was a father, this was a role he played. He's no longer here for his child. He won't be able to see her grow up. And she's old enough to realize what's going on and take that all in. So it was heartbreaking for me. But like you said, we're seeing this go international. This is across the world. So I think that's very impactful for her to see. Like she said, Daddy changed the world. His legacy is being heard across the country and around the world.
All right, positive thoughts of the day. We'll start with you, Amir Shah.
Definitely. Just be safe. I think that's the thing that we want to continue to push. We saw thousands of people in Paris protesting, but again, this is a global pandemic, meaning that if one person get affected, we all can be affected by this. So if you want to protest and share your voice, definitely be safe.
Romeo International.
The opposition is playing chess. You better learn quick how to play this game. Cass?
I think for me, it's doing your research and educating yourself. This is a very important time in our culture, in our society, in the world, to educate yourself on what you want to fight for and how you want to go about fighting for it and the right way to do so. There's a lot of material out there, books, film, documentaries. So definitely educate yourselves before you speak up and say the wrong thing.
Yes, and I think that my positive
First
word
King
of the day.
James.
Oh yes, yes. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say that I'm heartened by the multitudes who have appeared in all these countries that Amir pointed out. But it's always easier to highlight other people's mistakes. But each of these countries that are demonstrating right now, they would be horrified if they really conducted an autopsy of their own past, because they dissected the continent of Africa like a piece of pie, divided the resources, and stole it, each of these countries, and then brought us to the Americas. That's how we got here. So they all have a part to play. And so it's so much easier to look at what everybody else has done. They need to do a painful introspection of themselves, each of these countries, and then true change can come. That is my positive word of the day.
Wow, heavy. All right, good morning, everybody. Rolling Out AM, the wake up call. Positive thought of the day. I think, educate is clearly part of the movement. We want to educate. Look at what you're doing, your consumption patterns. Terry, I think you overlooked the volunteer slavery that's actually happening for looters. You are volunteering to get into a penal system and they're trapping you. If you saw the silent video, most of those young people didn't have their faces covered. So you've passed through a camera at a stoplight. You have passed through. There is a camera running the whole time in the store. Face recognition cameras will be used to identify you and your friends. All of the phones that have been pinged that are in that location, they will be sequestering and asking for all of those phones that are in those locations in that vicinity. It is a trap to be thinking about materialistic gains at the loss of George Floyd, at the loss of Trayvon Martin, at the loss of Sandra Bland, at the loss of Ahmaud Arbery. Educate yourself and not cost the movement, encourage the movement. We want you all to lift up. My partners here, Kaz in the City, Romeo International, Amir Shah, and Terry Shropshire. Great job, everybody. We love you guys, but please don't fall for the trap. There are tons of traps being set as this movement, anything to derail the images of our community. Be a positive light and a positive image, and educate yourself during this moment on how we can better organize, on how you can better actually positive affect our community. For all us, we're out. Rolling Out AM, the wake up call.
Peace out.